4 AM back here is almost a return to normality, honestly, which is great for me to see. Well, this is definitely what I want to see as well.
Let's hop on board with FINGURES and Kengzo under pressure now from Good Shout. Not quite able to get the full knock, but half an HP bar taken away. Fortunately, there is cover. There is a building there for Boombaam to be able to take occupation of. Wolves as well on the top of Potato Hill. You said that it was going to be just the one team in the centre. Well, now there's more that have started to move on through. This is quite a wide split over Potato Hill. 2 and 2 for Wolves.
Yeah, this is a typical kind of rotation. I'm not the biggest fan of it. I think it's one of those ones where you can lose players pretty quickly over on that western side. And if you get rocked upon aggressively with a push up towards the north, there's only 2 players there. It's very difficult for those players on the western side to react quick enough to provide that support that they need. So you're really looking at kind of a 2v4 scenario where you're hitting one of the knocks. You don't necessarily have to finish it as a 2v4, but you certainly need to slow something down. I think that's where you need to be a very, very good team to make that one happen. Chinese teams, though, they are very well known for these 2-2 splits, even bigger splits than that, in fact. So if anyone can do it, I mean, we can imagine that Wolves would be able to hold this position.
Kelsey takes the lion's share of the damage there, but the buggy brings them back to safety for S2G. Circle pops, center, a little bit to the south coast there. Will keep the water in proceedings, but likely that we will be finishing over to the east side of Pmgc, northwest of farm, southeast of school.
But playing massively over towards that edge side, right? They're not even making their way into the circle as of yet. Still yet to pass over towards Getka. Nova decided to leave that position behind, trying to head further in towards the circle itself. We're seeing Wolves at the moment actually taking shots over towards Nova. Orders found a position that's down towards the southwest side of Potato Hill.
Nova yet to fully regroup here on their maneuvers, but they will be able to do so very, very quickly, and Jimmy wastes no time in starting to extend that Caterpillar slink back together. U-High on the hillside for GeekFam, looking to slow down the Nova IGL. Jimmy will hear those bullets whizzing on past. Will be turned away. At the door, has to
in this circle, to be honest. Looks out towards that eastern side, provides a lot of cover towards the west as well with the mountainside. Well, less of a mountainside, but more of the ridge being behind you. So a really, really good position that Nova was able to find quite quickly as well. I didn't expect the team to be able to just pick this one up so easily as that. So threaded the needle, found the position they want, straight through the sweater.
Ching Chen getting some healing done there, keeping themselves safe after the scout for the 4 angry men. Up the road compounds here towards the school. S2G outposted both sides of the road here. We have seen a couple of times where it's been 2 or 3 teams in this one settlement, but S2G have control of it for now. The circle still being fairly large means that no teams are really going to be forced into that poor spot.
Yeah, I think that when you're looking at this circle, there is a lot of areas to play, right? There's a lot of elevation, a lot of positions around the map that still have compounds, still have rows that you can play in, still have dips, dives that you can head towards. So I don't think anyone's really put out as of yet. I think for Fireflux, this is maybe becoming a bit more of an issue at this point in time, especially coming down from that northwest side. So yet to have found a home at this point in time. So for them, the rest of the game is going to be a lot about trying to find this next position within the circle. I don't think they have all the information in the world available to them with this type of spot, especially when you get to PMGC. You can see that there's still 63 players remaining, 16 teams still alive. So for a team like Fireflux, finding these positions that are empty, that are still available to pass through, very, very difficult, as teams are quite easily able to bypass one another, open space on the map to allow one another in before they really have to take these necessary fights in the end game.
DRS might have been delivered. A couple of engagements here from Alter Ego. Wolves a little bit further down on the south, but Potato is safe for now in the shack. Stays alive, looking to, I'm sure, drop a couple of stims. We'll be able to get back to full HP here. They are fairly close together for Alter Ego on their home turf, in their home ground. They'll be able to still be at 4. Who's going to go down first, though? That's the big question here at the PMGC. You don't want to be the first team getting eliminated. The next circle comes through. It's over to the east.
Again, getting that lead on the first day is really good, right? It gives you that big buffer. Able to stick up towards that top side of the lobby for a long, long while. Order being popped out by Alter Ego, no less, as well. Wonderful start for them. What a position that Nova held, and Order scouting out a little bit too dangerously. Not quite down as of yet, but Alter Ego are swarming.
They want to confirm this flush. There's no way that Nova are going to be able to get this one back either. A couple more bullets did land over towards Order, and now the rest of Nova are taking a couple of shots from Alter Ego. Paraboy worried about S2G as well at the top of the hill. Worried about that position as IHC descend onto Rig in the sidelines, and immediately a rundown and a spray down. Demo is taken out in the process, but will be safe for now. Will be just fine for the time being. Demo getting rezzed up there by Ziol.
Yeah, IHC kind of blasted off towards the end of the tournament in league stage. Created a massive gap between them and other teams to allow them to get into this grand finals. Not necessarily one of the best teams here in the lobby, but certainly with a chance to prove themselves as one of those best teams. I think right now there's other teams I've got my eyes on, but again, Mongolia was surprised before over in the PMGC. I'm sure they can do that again.
4 second places for IHC in those last chance scenarios. As Lutz takes a tumble there from Fireflux, the second player of theirs to fall. Hang on a minute, we've got a bit of a scrap with IHC. T2K looking to try and stay alive, but IHC want to finish the job that they started. And Demo again, the one to go down, and once more Ziol picks him back up.
Really good stuff. I mean, Demo's kind of just playing as the absolute punching bag of the team, which is absolutely fine. I'm okay with that. You know, as long as a little bit of sand's pouring out of him, but he's staying up on his feet, brought back. And that defensive shield in front of the team, that's all good for me. So IHC, really, really well done so far. 3 eliminations. T2K didn't know what hit him. Circle up towards our northern side. Solus still with a player on bended knee. 4 AM down underneath and down towards the southeast with Good Xiao. Towards Qingchen down towards the south too. They're playing this 2-2 split. I think that they might be ready to converge on top of Solus and Fireflux if they move further ahead of them, maybe towards that north side, and eliminate their approach into towards that circle.
The last player from T2K spotted out. Location known and isolated by IHC. On the northern side, Koyovsky has the info there as well, but not really too much ground to be playing around with to get those points on board to slurp them back up into the pocket. Fireflux, 2 players alive. They've been picked apart a little bit. Solus and Solkay, the remaining duo on the south edge of this next circle near Farm. GeekFam currently on the outside in the cold here, southwest side, near Stalwart. Nova to their north. Remember, Nova have lost a player already, so they're only 3. And Vampire further north of that.
Still 3 players, more than enough a lot of times. Influence came in, had a seriously good run throughout the entirety of this year. It's not a case of a team that suddenly they were hit by bright light and able to head in towards the mirror and realize they didn't need the glasses anymore and they were somewhat more muscular. They've always been that way. They've just been working on it for quite some time. Fortunately, it's not going well for them.
Oh, Influence came in, getting caught up in the web of it. IHC stringing them along now. Only Law remains on the backstop as Nova have their own problems to deal with. Nades out through the window. Hang on, 2 teams have already fallen there. The burn down as Geek Squad try and roll into Nova. It's not going well. They're turning the tides. Jimmy is down, sure, but King and Paraboy set up the crossfire and the Geek Fam are cut down.
Goodness me, Geek Fam. This is a great chance to represent Malaysia here in the PMGC Grand Finals and look for that grand title itself. Unfortunately, going against Nova and getting picked apart like that does not bode well towards the team that is currently defending. Vampire Esports, on the other hand, this may be a different team, a different type of beast altogether.
Jimmy did go down in the process, so 2 players alive now for Nova. A knock went over towards Vampire earlier. Schweppes puts an nade through the window to back him off the angle.
It's beautiful!
But it goes long and through the door. Paraboy runs right on into it. King now needs to reposition. GeekFam might be able to stay alive off the back of this knock. King dropping those smokes, allowing himself to cross, making sure that he has the cover. Fluke cannot really go for this full aggression just yet. They have to be worried about GeekFam as well, but the hillside's now controlled. King in for the res, but in comes Stoned and Ravenclaw in the vehicle. In through the window, pulls the ordnance, and there they go. Nova down and out in the first match.
An entirely different beast is exactly what this team is. Sharp fangs, long claws, and massive, massive potential to scare here in the late game, prowling out from the bushes. Really, really well done to Vampire Esports. Cut themselves a nice bit of the circle for themselves over on this western side, can move through it. Good positions to move up against as well towards that east. With Alter Ego taking a couple of knocks there, that might just be their go signal.
Delta definitely spotted Qingchen going on into the shack, and there's the Molotov. Is it going to spread? Is it just fallen a little bit short? I think it might be able to get a first aid off there and stay alive, but that nade in through the door might just seal the deal. Outside again, a DRS laying it short.
DRS, honestly, they played a very safe type of game over in the league stages, waited a long, long time, and it wasn't until towards those final moments we really saw what they were made of, John, honestly. And I think that once we did see that, we saw that, you know, they were maybe a little bit more tougher than we expected. Considering now on the edge a lot of times, now they're taking the fights to these big teams over in the PMGC.
Wolves stalwart already looking for the crash. The Wolves lose the first on the engagement. Action already on 2 eliminations as Remember falls. Memory wiped out as well. Scry into the ground floor, stays up and kicking as well. Beautiful and Pick feet to the back lines now. Looking to pick Remember back up. Scry gets that heal off and they remount their aggression. Scry in through with that DBS. Action takes a lot of damage, but Pika is already forwards with the UMP. Pick feet falls on the top floor and Beautiful's there as well. He's found and Stalwart keep it on rolling. The Chinese teams are being pulled apart here, Blank.
Really good stuff there from Stalwart. And again, this is definitely no longer these years of PMGC being all about China. We have some seriously good teams, Alpha 7 included, taking it to the guys from Boombaam so far. Mythic down behind them, but if anyone can do it, Revo can. This guy has been certainly impactful for the team.
Carrillo is still there as well. Tiger with the zone pushing in will have to move now. Demo from IHC. We've seen him be, you were talking about it, a little bit of a punching bag earlier, Blank, and that sand is still topping him up. Vampire on the western edge, playing still with 4. Pushing in, they will need to move past Alter Ego. Fnatic on the off angle. Vampire may be potentially unaware of it, but it looks like they're playing on that ridgeline. 4 players from Alpha 7. In the meantime, on the eastern side, this is the opposite end of the circle from Vampire and Alter Ego. They're going to move on forwards, take the challenge with DRS. IHC forcing this into a linear engagement.
Again, a lot of fights can start to pop off now. All these positions no longer really able to just sit around and wait for these teams to get a little bit closer. Inco, though, once again, that macro, that game sense coming to play where they pick up that northern side compound. They do it so often, they do it so well, it almost looks like luck, but I don't think we can say that it is anymore. They just have a very good awareness of where these circles are going and which are the best compounds, which are the best routes in. All 4 players currently holding on that northern side. The only other teams that may be able to contest is S2G as well as IHC right on the edge. But look at this, IHC is suffering.
Alpha 7, they felt the pressure of that linearized fight and they said, you know what? We're not messing about here. We're going to isolate you. We're going to take you out of the mix. 6 eliminations now on the cards for Alpha 7, and they can continue to push in from the eastern side towards and potentially past DRS. Alter Ego in the meantime. Potato up the top of the hill has got a lot of sightlines to deal with, but Stalwart have other ideas. They're going to move up and potentially look to dethrone him.
Stalwart, like you said, looking to pull the players from Alter Ego away from this position. They also have to worry about Vampire Esports, who I think just have found one over on Alter Ego's side. That's Rex going down. Fnatic, Pombit still alive over towards the north here on that 2-1 split. So Inco really still have a fantastic position in the circle. Looking to pick up some big points here to start off the game. This is what they usually do. It's what they usually did over in league stage, which is pick themselves up a big game at the beginning and then run from it from there.
Alpha 7 have taken a knock, as have Stalwart. Vampire, 5 eliminations. They're playing well and together, but they have got a little bit of ground to cover now ahead of them. Alter Ego stay alive as 3. Taking heavy punishment from the north side now. It's S2G taking shots out their way. Fnatic will be able to get that first aid off, but up goes the vehicle and slow it goes down. Potato gets baked. And they're looking to add the cheese as well for 4 Angry Men. It's just Qingchen remaining. The Bison in hand as well. Ponbet last standing, wants to res Fnatic in this position. Qingchen flushes out the teammate.
Again, if he takes down the last 2, that would be a pretty convincing 1v3 coming through from 4 AM. With 8 teams remaining, potentially some good points here for them. DRS still going strong though. See them with 4 players still alive, 4 eliminations, certainly not bad. Alpha 7 with 6 and 4 teammates still up. Make that 7 now, looking to start out these games strong.
Inko in an engagement, but Nene Bete is holding his own, as we know he can do for Inko. Vampire moving on in now as S2G have moved down south to try and engage on this as well. Up the top, Alter Ego still struggling. So we hop over to the other side of the circle now again. Hang on a minute, we're back here. Silas launches a nade up the hill and Fnatic takes a tumble. Ponbet last standing now for Alter Ego. Damage done though to the ranks of the Vampires as Alter Ego swept aside. 8th place, 1 elimination. Stalwart now with a challenge on DRS on the south side. Forwards position for actions. Pika is already down and Scry is dispatched by Gianti on the off angle. A nice find, nade in hand on the bottom of the hill, and the res up front needs to come through now, or it needs to stay tall. Rules might not even know about it. Hang on a minute, he's pushed all the way through. He's managed to get a knock on the back, and top falls as well, but they're turned around on Gianti now under pressure from action, but it's DRS, and Stalwart fall.
An insanely good crunch there coming out from DRS from either side. I don't think Stalwart saw what was coming. They went for a greedy res there towards the end too, and just wasn't quite enough. This is again what I was talking about earlier, is there's absolutely no teams within this lobby that are not a threat anymore. You cannot just pass anyone up. You can't go for these greedy type of plays. You just have to get out of dodge. Yes, having 4 players is going to lead you to a better chance of getting that win, or maybe tailing out of that fight, but sometimes you just got to run away, and that is what potentially Stalwart should have done with his smokes. Maybe got 1 knock and then just scarpered. Could still go for that top 5 position. That top 3 was still in the bag, still available.
DRS turn their attention to Vampire now. Ravenclaw falls. Vampire did get up to 4, but they bumped back down to 3 fairly quickly. DRS, they have 4 players of their own, and Ravenclaw gets flushed out pretty fast there. Fluke closest now and will feel the brunt of a nade in a second to dunk it down. An alley-oop set up by the DRS squad. 9 eliminations now. And the Nepali team doing so much work, and the rundown is the stone to close it down. S2G, hang on a minute, they've stolen a couple away. Vampire eliminated, and now they're into the fight. S2G taking on DRS, and in the midst of it all, Qingchen has stayed alive for 4 Angry Men.
Oh my days, Nepali fans everywhere going to be very happy with how this game has come out. DRS playing a very, very passive game over in the league stage, but as soon as they're here in the PMGC, they've had to turn things up by 11, which is great to see. DRS currently looking very, very clean with it. Right now, a couple more teams to go. S2G, obviously a very strong team hailing from Turkey. 4 AM, 1 player remaining for them. Inko with 3, with that extremely strong position over towards that northern side. But again, DRS, they have lost 1 player, so this is still all to play for.
2 Brazilian teams remain, Alpha 7 and Inko. Alpha 7 in a little bit of a crunch though on the eastern side. Mythic low and actually under pressure from Inko, the other team from Brazil, and they will find the final knock there, the final flush. 7 eliminations, 5th place for Alpha 7. That's a very good start to their tournament.
It's a really good start to their tournament. I mean, that's going to bump them up massively. It'll give them that 11-point average kind of lead very early on in terms of like a 3-game buffer, which is ideally what you want if they can take it just a little bit further now. I think DRS realizes, which is why they slow things down massively. S2G, though, still have a chance to bring things back for themselves. It'd be a really good opportunity here to make their countrymen proud.
With the announcement that the next global finals will be held in their home country. They're looking to make their mark, to try and state their claim to be there in 2023, but they've got to get through this one first.
Really good developments coming through from Turkey this year, honestly. Just in terms of players, in terms of teams, in terms of infrastructure. And again, this has probably been one of the best years in terms of adding those really, really influential players from around the world. And again, DRS takes this one to a grinding halt now. Waiting for any of these teams around them to make a mistake. Pushed us a little bit too far.
And they better with that AWM, a fearsome sight as an outpost for Inco. A star player for the roster. With a big heavy hitting gun, Vitali ducks back into the blue, takes a lot of damage to retrieve that buggy, but that could be very, very valuable in the next circle or two to keep them alive, to give them a little bit more cover. Chingchen still alive, top 4.
Top 4's great right now for 4AM. They'll take this. Yes, they only got 1 elimination, but the point system, how it still is right now, third, second place really does offer you a very good amount of points, and this kind of game can be salvaged off the back of points lead like that. And for 4AM to identify that, just go for this kind of gameplay. You know, it's not what they would probably do in PAL, but in the PMGC 2022 Grand Finals, this is a good call to make, and that is that adaptability of a lot of these Chinese teams coming into play.
Just needing to move a little bit further forwards in the next zone. Pretty close to the edge right now. The blue zone will not slow. No matter who you are, no matter where you're from. DRS on the south side lurking to sweep across this hill a little bit. Inco are holding out. Chingchen finally, I think, starting to strike as the solo player. Needing a little bit more ground, a little bit more position. Might be coming from DRS that actually, but S2G nonetheless still all live and kicking. All of them still in action. Kelsey on the backstop.
Kelsey, it's a good angle, but it's Vitali. Some beautiful shots there from the SLR, looking for one more. Sees the bearers in the helmet. Can he thread the shot over the top? But no. From downhill, it was not meant to be.
Nenebete under pressure, found out as well, just Vitali. S2G taking heavy, heavy punishment. Vitali, he's got the SLR, and now Hamzy left with the duo of Kelsey to try and stay alive. DRS are in the midst of it all. 3 players for them. 6 eliminations on Killer, by the way, in the meantime. And the players from Inco started to fall down the hill. In the midst of it all, still Chingchen stays alive, but finally dispatched. The 4 angry men will go down in 4th place. Now, Vitali around the edge, has the DBS, waits for him to go close. I don't even know if that was from the DBS. Yes, it was. Hamzy sent packing, and now Inco down the hill leave DRS a golden opportunity, which they will seize with both hands. The Nepali team shout loud in the first match.
Can you believe it though? Nenebete was looking with the AWM to make a splash in his first game, but in fact it was Vitali out of nowhere with the SLR and that DBS to finish things off for S2G, but DRS really knew when to speed up that game, when to slow it down, and 100% deserved that win there for Nepal. Really, really, really strong play from them. You can see that they're relieved by this as well. This is going to give them that nice points buffer available to them to carry on going.
That was pretty heavy as a game for them as well. They had a lot of eliminations on the card. You could see their 6 eliminations for their MVP this game. 1.4k damage, near enough. Brilliant, brilliant performance coming through from Killer for the squad, and the rest of DRS moved well on these hillsides.
Absolutely. I think for Killer, he's been performing pretty damn well recently, and a 1.4k mark is not an easy mark to hit either. That is really, really tough, and I think for him, he's going to be massively proud with this game, John.
You were talking about how these players can adapt, can change coming into these finals. Yep. This is what you wanted to see from DRS. You've talked about that change of gameplay.
I mean, this is completely like similar to Nova, right? Is that cruising playstyle over in the league stages to get into PMGC and then bring it all to bear there. But I think DRS maybe doesn't have that strength towards the start of the year. And I think through this team, through Delta, Rules, Killer, Gyante, they've really found this magical team set now, this magical core that's going to take them really all the way at this point in time. And for DRS, normally I would have looked at that situation, been like 3 players still left remaining. But it's DRS. I don't think they can close out this game. Now I look at them and think DRS have got this in the bag.
Seemingly really very effectively as well. Look at that. 27 smokes used, 21 grenades. It kept them together all the way until the end. They played it, I would say, near enough perfectly on these hillsides, and it wasn't like it was a game that just went to them. They had to fight for that position.
Yeah, they had to fight for 100%. I think for Inco, they're a very different team altogether. They're kind of the Nitro Boost team, in my opinion. You know, they've got the small amount of fuel left of Nitro, and they just hit that Nitro button towards the end of the game, the last 2 minutes. It sees them up towards that top 3. That's all they need, really.
Inco don't got friends, they got family. They are blasting out, but so are DRS, with a statement game to kick things off here at the PMGC.
DRS taking home a phenomenal game. That is 28 points, ladies and gentlemen, in their bags to start off the PMGC journey. What can you say about that one? That is phenomenal.
You can never count out the power. I have the impression that's what we can say here, Seven. Always a team that can get himself these strong chicken dinners. And the way they played it, I love how John really mentioned it during that game. So close to almost perfection, the control of that high ground position. Like, really, as long as they cleared the team south and east, there was no way DRS did not get that chicken dinner.
Yeah, and I love the aggressiveness that they were able to showcase too. I mean, we saw them being able to run over people too. We saw them being able to use anything within their means to just get those eliminations. They ended up with their team. But I mean, Inco Gaming, for them to be able to do 10 elims, I thought that was great too. We saw at one point Vitali being able to get some great angles, trying to put on some damage. It was kind of sad not being able to see Nenebete use that arm. I would have loved to see that.
Yeah, you got himself at least one, I think, knock plus a flush afterwards. I
wanted more.
It's not DBS, you know. I'll tell you that much. But hey, Brazil looking good. Get himself a second and fourth place in points 1. Pretty good start.
S2G as well, we saw them there, and then you can see one of the players that I was talking about, Inco Vitali. He was able to put up 7 eliminations, 44% of the contributed. Are you kidding me? 1,300 damage too?
Wait, look at my boy Killer. 21 nades on his lonesome. What? His backpack was just full of nades.
Okay.
Vitali had 1.
No.
Well, his looting phase must have been pretty good if he was able to throw 21 grenades.
Might have been some smokes in there.
Maybe
too.
a few here and there. You know what?
Yeah,
you got to use those.
Still, what, like, for them to start off like this, that is so impressive. 1,300 damage out of both players.
Well, we already have Inco here right now. They were the team that had, well, the best position for most of the circle. They were the only ones that had hard cover inside their compound on the southern side. Still getting 7 elims and just 1 player and 10 in total. Is this something you expected with that circle?
I mean, the thing is, as you said, right, the circle did come their way, but the way they just control it, and especially when they sent Nenebete, keeping 2 players retreated in the compound, you're just somewhat securing a big area, and you just say, look, allow yourself to get a few eliminations here and there, but top performer, of course, is going to be Vitali this time around.
Who else?
And, 44% team contribution, really putting the foot forward for Inco.
Yeah, and for me, I mean, Killer YT as well, being able to put up 6 elims. We saw them earlier too. But Vampire Esports, I feel like that was just such a pleasant surprise. We were looking at each other. We were hyped up. I was getting flashbacks from PMWI. This team just being able to third party. I feel like that was the story for me. And I'm really, really excited to see that type of Vampire here.
I was really wondering, is what we saw in PMWI going to be shown up once again here? And I can say already in the first game here, Seven, that is the case. They took down Nova. They went for an amazing push right after that onto Alter Ego. They're looking hot. They're looking great. They're looking like they want a first good day.
And that is it, ladies and gentlemen, with match 1 of PMGC 2022. Match number 2 is coming up any minute, and we've got Miramar. Ladies and gentlemen, Miramar?
That's how I call it.
Oh, okay. That's something new, I guess. We haven't been working together for so long. But Miramar is coming up, and he's second one. I do want to touch on a couple of things because I don't think we've had enough talk about the first game. You were talking about Vampire, and I wanna touch on something really quick because they took out the current champion of PMGC of the last 2 seasons. But how did that fight even start? Because you were having some interesting thoughts about that.
Yeah, because they took themselves a fight right before. Nova were able to actually defend that compound at first, but the player got knocked. And that's the cool thing that I love so much about Vampire. They are so aware of their surroundings. Every time something happens, they're like, okay, we know what's happening around us. Let's try and turn that into a favorable situation. They had a perfect 2-2 split, shoot angles to scout information on that compound. They're like, we're not going to allow you to get that res. We're going to get close, get that nade from Schweppes, and then it's just so easy to just like, okay, full send it. It's in the bag, boys. And it was indeed in the bag.
And I felt like that nade was perfect too from Vampire, from Schweppes, because you can see he's positioned himself exactly, and he knew that Paraboy was going to decide to back off and probably go into that closet there in that second floor. It got him perfect. And going a little bit back to Nova, I mean, for them to lose order right away, I felt like that was just such a huge shocker. And then, I mean, we heard it too. Alter Ego being able to get that LM, everybody went absolutely crazy. But I feel like that definitely hurt a little bit of Nova there, losing that big of a player. I am excited, though. We mentioned it. I'm so excited to see Vampire Esports willing to take those third parties and willing to be so aware.
Speaking of about Alter Ego, while we're already at the topic, they had a pretty good position in like phase 4, 5, and 6 to some degree. And I was sitting here and I was telling you, I have a feeling they're going to win this game because they had a good position on the southwestern side. It was high ground as well. They had a team that was pressured into them by the zone, but they did kind of lose that momentum. What happened?
I'm really happy you bring that up, Felix, because I think that we were both in agreement during that game. You have what to do and what not to do when you're looking at what DRS did in that game and what Alter Ego did. Like, it's a perfect, like, just black and white situation where Alter Ego, they kind of gave too much space to teams like S2G, to teams like especially Vampire, who were just looking so hot after taking down Nova. If they held their ground, maybe they're in a similar position as DRS. Maybe they have an opportunity to go for the win. And then you look at DRS, holding their ground, clearing out. I think it's Alpha 7. I think it's Stalwart also they clear. If they did that, could have had an Indonesian chicken dinner for the first game.
I would have loved it, and I was actually surprised that Alter Ego didn't decide to push on the fight between Nova Esports and Geek
I know, right,
I thought that was going to be the team that was going to be willing to third party that, and then Vampire Esports says, you know what, you guys are taking so long, we'll take over.
Yeah, I thought that was going to be it.
And with that being said, let's head over to the teams to watch for game number 2, Miramar. We have the picks from these beautiful analysts already here. I gotta see. Oh, it's DRS again for Maxman. Maxman, can't you explain? I mean, there's not much to explain, is there? But
they kind of got a win.
Tell me about it.
You know? I just like the confidence they were showing in that game because, like, DRS in the past, like, of course, this is a completely different roster, but when we used to see, teams from Nepal, they're like, not teams that are known for being like, okay, we're going to put our foot down. This is our position. If you try and push it, you're going to lose. And I love that kind of mentality from them in the very first game. So I hope we can see hopefully more of that playstyle and just attitude in these games.
For me, I went with off the 7 there. I mean, we saw the aggressiveness out of them. I think they ended up with 7 eliminations. That's definitely what I love to see. We saw during group stages, Miramar was usually one of their strongest maps, and that's also why I picked Nova, because Nova used to be very, very strong in Miramar, and they're going to need to bounce back here. I'm pretty sure they're currently just boiling inside, saying, you know what, we can't allow that to happen. We can't allow Order to just get eliminated early on, and then Vampire Esports, I want to continue to see those Vampire Esports third parties.
Very good. You have 2 teams in common, which is DRS, A7 and Vampire, but there's one difference in your pick, which is Nova. So you think we're gonna bounce back after that one?
Miramar.
Yeah,
makes sense.
It's Miramar.
That's why we both picked him, I think. It's like Miramar, you got Nova, it kind of like 1 + 1 = 2. And I'm bad at math, even I can tell that.
Well,
okay?
I'm too, don't look at me. But yeah, I mean, that's
anything, right?
interesting picks.
Don't make me do math. Okay, my dad's an accountant and he's gonna be upset if I get it wrong.
Well, interesting picks either way. Brazil starting off really strong, though. We've seen it in the rankings. A7 and Inco both having incredible performances. But I do have to say, out of both of these teams, I felt like Inco had a little bit of an easier game. That's why I would still rate, and I can see it in the picks, and I can understand why, A7 a little bit higher. That aggressiveness, is that something you see A7 having throughout the whole of PMGC finals? Is that what you expect from them as well? Because a lot of people have been debating about, teams like HVP not qualifying, for example, because they were overly aggressive. And a lot of people were saying Nova is exactly that kind of good mix. Where does the Brazil team stand here right now in terms of aggressiveness and, maybe sometimes taking a step back and winning it?
Ask the expert.
This is Nova right here, all right, in regards to aggressiveness. and being able to switch that on, being able to have that switch, right? And I feel like Alpha 7 is here. Before they used to be super aggressive, and they didn't have that slow down button. They weren't able to be as patient. This is a completely different team than before. So for anybody watching, if you think they're going to be able to just continue on that aggressiveness, they will, but they will be able to switch it on when they need to, and I feel like that's a huge, a massive improvement out of Alpha 7 this year.
Yeah, I mean, as you said also many times when we were talking about Alpha 7, they're a very streaky team, right? And this was not an easy game for them. That 5 versus DRS, I think there's a very slow, like, low percentage of chance they actually win it. The fact that they survived as long as they did, got as many eliminations as they did, is very impressive. So we'll see if they can make it happen here on Miramar.
And that's it from us, ladies and gentlemen. We will be going over to these beautiful castles that I can see on my right. We will go over to John Allen, and thanks. Have fun!
Oh, we got it. We're here. We're ready. We are a little bit chilly up here, actually, but he's doing all right. He's managing. He's managing.
I saw like the DRS got this really cool scarf, so I might steal that. I also saw that, you know, also Alter Ego's got some cool merch as well. So you might, if you see me later, I'm probably going to be just like stacked layer upon layer of different team merch, and I might be unrecognizable. So I apologize for that.
It'd be great because no matter who wins, you'll be wearing their merch, right?
Exactly.
You just might have to peel off about 7 layers, but you'll get that.
They're like, that's biased. It's like, but wait, there's more.
You put the headband on.
Yeah.
I love that. Team headbands would be cool.
Team headbands would be cool.
Maybe
like
next year.
5 of them.
Maybe in Turkey we'll get some of them.
Stacked. That's like got this ring in front of my head just in case I bump my head on anything. It'd just be like
you need it.
good to. Wow. Okay. It's kind of me. But
You clumsy bumbler.
I'm quite the klutz, unfortunately. However, there was no clumsy play on that last game.
Certainly not.
We saw some really good stuff there from DRS. Obviously, Alpha 7, very strong. Unfortunately, weren't able to take it all the way, sadly. S2G, similarly, got absolutely picked apart by Vitali from Inco. That's kind of just a Vitali thing to do. You know, it just happens. Comes out of nowhere. It's good to go. It's match made in heaven for Inco in that particular moment. I think S2G probably was the only other team that could have beaten out DRS. So as soon as they took them down, they kind of secured themselves that 2nd place.
Players loading on into the lobby, making sure they got everything sorted out. Fireflux didn't really have the burn that they had in the solos in that first match, but there's still plenty more left to go. We are into match number 2 fairly soon as the lobby once more spins itself up to get ready for Miramar, for the desert.
Obviously a bigger map here. I say that every single time. Just for the newbies, obviously. Do have, obviously, your boys Vampire over here looking very good at the last game. Unfortunately, weren't able to take it all the way as DRS bombarded them with a grenade airstrike from the side, smoked them out. They have no idea what was hitting them, but we are headed into our 2nd match of the day on Miramar.
Plane path from Los Higos all the way up to Torre Ahumada in the northeast side. A fairly even cut on the plane path. Should be fairly kind to everyone involved. You'll be looking at who's going to be dropping out towards places like Picado, like Los Leones, or Pozzo as well. A crucial area. Montenuevo potential to get a little bit hot on this plane path as well.
Yeah, potential for Montenuevo to get a little bit spicy. The team's able to quickly head up towards that northwest side and get themselves in position. Picado, obviously one of those really well-liked positions around the map. Maybe someone's going to pick up that soon. Torre Ahumada, also easy enough to head towards another Copadilla, another position around the map that does provide you a lot of options towards that late game. So it's a surprisingly good playing path here for a lot of teams in this lobby. We'll just see who's able to pick up those priority spots early.
Halfway on the plane path now. Alter Ego, DRS close to one another on the south coast. Over in Picado, it looks like it's going to be Wolves on their own right now. Los Leones potentially shared between Vampire and T2K, but T2K a little bit further north and might not even challenge for it. Instead, they've got their own problems to worry about over there. There's 2 teams dropping near them. The outpost from Nova all the way down towards that south side. Circle pops. It's over towards Impala.
Yeah, Impala open now. Not many teams actually headed over this way, in fact, so you should see some players, some teams heading on towards Puerto Paraíso, even Impala. Delta's taking the Delta Expressway over towards that position of the map on the old glider. Good news for them. Won't get isolated. Bit more difficult to actually take players out in this thing, considering how fast it can be. Not very evasive, though, unfortunately. Most time when I try and pull out evasive maneuvers. I tend to just smash right into trees.
That is one of the main dangers, I think, of flying.
Yeah.
When there are trees nearby. Or even, you know, pylons in the background, hitting those cables. Smash. Bad times.
That's right.
I feel like you're trying to tell me something and I'm not getting it, but I don't know what's going on there.
No, it's just quite funny, because John is dressed for the weather right now. He's got a nice jacket on. He's good to go. He looks cozy. He looks warm.
Oh, so cozy.
I'm currently borrowing a sweater.
Ah.
Got the hood up. I'm sat down. I'm all huddled in my chair, and it kind of looks weird. It kind of looks like someone's the professional and I'm not. However,
Whoa.
I can bring professional commentary. Might not look like a professional right now.
Oh dear. You look fine. You're doing great.
Thank you.
We're surviving. We're managing.
It's not always. You can't always judge a book by its cover.
The only survival happening, not just in the game.
Yeah.
It's in the casting area
I'm surviving
as well.
here as well.
Exactly.
Yeah. Like Gale wins of Antarctic freezing possibility. But obviously, these teams must be nice and happy. They can pretend they're in Miramar. I can pretend I'm in Miramar.
Yes, you can.
That nice hate. Oh, you know, it's just taking over my brain.
Look, you're just gonna get jealous if you think too much about
I
it.
really, really am. But again,
IHC on the western side in Montenuevo. No one really challenged them out on this western edge. They can move in fairly soon.
Absolutely. And again, this is what I'm saying about, not judging a book by its cover, or me with my silly sweater on. But it's just teams like DRS or Inco where you think to yourself, maybe you're looking at this team a little bit wrong. Like, I used to think Inco was a lot of luck. I think that they're fully aware that they don't have that power to go against some of these teams in the lobby that are right towards the top, and there are a lot of them, and I respect that about them, because they just set themselves in positions where they can take those third parties, they can take those off angles, and that's fair enough. That's fair play. I like that from Inco. They're doing what they can to see themselves up towards a top position here at the Pmgc Grand Finals. No matter what happens, I think if Inco can keep up this kind of pace, they're going to bring home some good money for the team.
Influence coming north side of El Azahar. Wolves left Picardo very, very swiftly, I would say. We're not too far into this game, Blank, and they've already left and headed all the way out to the east, towards La Bandita, near towards where Nova have actually made their move. So two of the Chinese teams will be playing there. Hang on a minute, there's a third as well, because Nova are in the midst of it also, near the crater, near Minas Generalis, just a little bit further north. Inco crunching in from that north side. We'll see if they have got that power.
Inco, obviously, this is what I'm saying. I don't think they have that power just yet. But I think what they do have is they have good game sense. They have good awareness. I think they do their homework. They go home and they study. They keep the little nightlight on. And that's fine. I respect that. I like that a lot. It's something I admire in a team. I think if you just come into these matches and you just have sheer brute force, doesn't always come through if you don't have, the brains to back up that brawn a lot of times. I think right now Inco is kind of consists a lot of brains. They're a strong brain, though. Very strong brain.
Big, strong brain.
Yeah, a muscular brain.
They've been eating their greens.
Yeah.
S2G on the western side as well, just a little bit behind the queue for Wolves. And they'll draw a little bit shorter, but they're still firmly in this circle for the next. Boombaam, they went over towards Impala on the east edge and looking to create an outpost a little bit further into the mix of it all, a little bit out to that western side of their position. They'll be happy to do that, happy to be able to gain that foothold. 4 angry men on the southwest side. Chington was able to get very, very deep into that last game. 4th place, in fact, for them as a solo player. So a good foothold on the tables will have been achieved there. 9 points total, which on the game that they were having, a really, really good result.
It's not bad. I think he was hoping for a top 3. And it was quite quickly that a lot of these other teams went out after them. But again, 9 points. Yeah, it might not be that average you're looking for like maybe that 10, 11 plus, but what this does see them is in a range where this